Oh my goodness. It is Thursday. How much fun was Tuesday night's book club? Was that so much fun? I am loving the book, you guys. If you're not reading it, Change Your World by John Maxwell. Kicked it off on Tuesday night, but you can join us next Tuesday at 8 o'clock right here on this Zoom. It's fun. You can come in and just hang out in your jammies on your couch. There's never an obligation to share anything, but it is loads of fun. And who's excited about Saturday, you guys? Who's going to be going to the breast cancer walk? No, not a lot of you. Goodness gracious. Karen, are you going to be there with me?
We'll be there. I'm going to be there.
Yes. Okay, so we got some people there. I hope you have something pink to wear, or you purchased your cute little Plexus pink shirt. Challenge. Has everybody seen the fun challenge that's going to be starting next Wednesday? Depuff yourself, you guys. I'm going to brag for a minute. I think I might be the queen of depuffing.
You are.
I know Kenny says he didn't realize that was a thing. It's a thing. I am depuffed.
The marshmallow man.
I've lost 4 dress sizes of inflammation, you guys, and only 6 pounds. That's depuffed. That is inflammation be gone. That is what that is. So I hope you are sharing that with your friends, with your family. We know that we are better together ultimately, and we love doing it together. So share that challenge. And then momentum meetup, you guys. I hope that if you're on this call, you are registered to go to a momentum meetup here. And if you are not local, they are being hosted all over the place. So I can almost assure you, probably there is one being hosted close by to where you're at. So make sure you get with your Jewel and figure out where your momentum meetup is, because it's going to be so much fun. I know Jen and I were talking yesterday. There's going to be swag. It's going to be so much fun. So you're not going to want to miss it. And one more thing before we hand this call over to our dear friend, Krista, but the Nikes, you guys, the Nikes, 12. I went back and counted. I think 12 of you have already, I'm included in that 12. So yes. I cannot wait to pick out my Nikes, but I hope that you guys are thinking about those Nikes, right? For Christmas. It's an ideal Christmas present, especially if you've got teenagers or children, or even for your husband, right? Or your spouse. So way to go. 12 of you have already earned your Nikes, and we still have plenty of time left in this month. So without further ado, I am going to hand this call over to Krista. Krista, we are so grateful that you are here tonight, and we cannot wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Thank you. You're so sweet. And I'm just now realizing this says my husband's name. I'm like, oh, it says Chad. Hey, y'all, I'm Chad's wife. And I'm just having the best time just watching you guys. I'm like, can I be a fly on the wall on all of y'all's calls? Because this is the best thing ever. You guys are precious and so dear to my heart. Your leaders are amazing. Y'all are in such sweet momentum, and I learn so much from watching you. So it's truly an honor to be hanging out with you guys. And so within that, all the more I was like, well, Lord, what do I have to give this team? Help a sister out. And I need you to speak to me so I can share with y'all. And that is my heart for tonight, is to share 5 things that I wrote down, 5 lessons that I've learned in this journey. But quick recap on who I am. I'm not going to really go into my testimony, but just recap it quickly in case we've never met before. But my name's Krista Deary. I live in Charlotte region in North Carolina as of the last year. and am married to a precious man named Chad. He's a senior Ruby with Plexus. And we have 8 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls. Clearly have a lot of kids because I can't even talk straight. It was a day today of co-ops and all the things and soccer. In fact, they're on their way back from soccer. 4 boys, 4 girls, 20 down to 4. And we are busy, as you can imagine. I'm a special needs mom. My son Judah is 11 years old, but when he was 5 weeks old, he had 2 traumatic brain hemorrhages that destroyed much of his brain. And so we walk out a caregiver's life. We've learned so much in the journey. It's also hard. And there's such a thing as caregiver burnout. We know that to be very real, and it's something we navigate. He's changed our life for the better, and he is also a lot of laying down our lives to practice a life of serving another, and is such a gift. I'm also a homeschool mom. I homeschool 5 of my kids, and just recently took that fully back on for a season. Chad and I did it together. He was home full time for 5 years, doing life with me and the kids, where we'd cook together, clean together. He learned how monotonous dishes and laundry could be and was like, wow, this stinks. Like, this is crazy. You've been doing this for ages. And we'd school the kids together. We traveled a whole bunch. And then as of recently, he entered full-time ministry. And it has just been wild to see how the Lord has used this Plexus journey in preparation for such a time as this. But that's kind of like that recap on like who in the world we are. I joined Plexus. I'm coming up on 8 years. October of 2014 is when I reached my lowest low. It took reaching a breaking point before I was willing to lay down my ego and think that maybe something from a network marketing company might help me. And so I, out of desperation, gave it a shot. And my at that time was just in a swirl of darkness, really, emotional struggles, spiritual struggles, physical struggles, all the things. And so I made a handshake of a deal with my husband that if it didn't work in 60 days, I'd get my money back and check myself in for treatment. It did work though. And I'm so thankful, and had no idea that the very thing God used to bring freedom to my health is what he'd also then turn around and use to bring freedom to our finances, something that we had prayed for a decade. As we were navigating that, we lost everything in 2008, and we saw the Lord redeem everything through a very unlikely way and an unlikely person. Of the 2 of us, between Chad and I, he's the guy who's been in business, this entrepreneurial spirit since I had ever known him, really since he was a kid. And loves, like, he's outgoing, he's an extrovert. He would have people over all day, every day. Like, it just like fills his cup. I'm the introvert. I'm shy. I've avoided public speaking my whole life, successfully until Plexus. I was avoiding it. And then this came along and shattered all of my comfort zone in every way. And really every part of the journey, you guys, has been completely outside of myself and out of what I would have looked for. I hadn't even worked as a mom. I worked in a coffee shop in college, and I babysat. That is the extent of my work history and of any resume I'd ever think to come up with. And so I wasn't the perfect candidate for this. I bet I could have been diagnosed with like social anxiety, like still to this day, to talk to humans, whether it's a best friend, a mailman, the bus driver. When I get my son off the bus, it literally makes me like need to take deep breaths. Even just to have the repairman come yesterday, I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's just a repairman. But like, I need you to know, like, that is who I am. But that isn't what will limit me. Not everything that the Lord calls you into is going to fit what you think you want to do and what you think you're good at and what is like within your comfort zone. Everything you want in life is outside of yourself, requiring such a dependency on his strength. It's in his strength our weaknesses are made perfect, right? Like, I delight in my weaknesses all the more, and in admitting and confessing them to you, in hopes that there's someone here that says, okay, fine. If she can do it, I can do it too. Okay, that's my hope. So what have I learned along the way? 5 things came to my heart this afternoon as I stepped away to prepare for this evening. Number 1, your time is really valuable. So use it wisely. Okay, prioritize the things that truly move the needle in your business. If you're going to step away from your family, from your spouse, from whatever, to invest in this business, make your time worth it. right? And so often I think we can gravitate towards the things that we like the most, or that are the most comfortable and the most enjoyable to us. And we can avoid the things that sometimes we're afraid of, or we're just kind of avoiding or procrastinating on, that oftentimes tend to be exactly what we need to do. So look for what you're avoiding and do it, do the things, but make sure you're doing work that's moving the needle. You know, I think so often, I don't know, you can get busy making a whole bunch of graphics for Insta stories or something, or like you can get really busy like changing a brand new system for your customer care or whatever, but then lose sight of like, no, like pedal to the metal, go after a big vision. Instead, I would rather prioritize that upfront time with what is going to move the needle in my business and in my income. And then if you have extra time, start doing the fluffy, fun stuff. You know, like I love organizing my office. I could do it all day, every day. But guess what? If I was to scan the room, you'd see I haven't even unpacked it since I moved into this house, because that's not moving the needle on the things that are the highest priority in my life. I don't know the last time I cleaned the toilets or scrubbed my baseboards. Like, you know, like my time is so valuable in my marriage, in my family, and in my business. Do the things that move the needle. Baseline is I need to know that I'm enrolling 3 people a month and at least developing 1 silver. If I'm not doing that, I got to change how I'm doing my things and make sure I'm putting in good, true effort. So whatever your monthly goal is for your like personal goals, let alone your team ones, be hitting the mark. And if not, shift and make sure you're truly prioritizing your time well. Number 2, level up or level out. Your personal growth will always precede your team growth, right? And sometimes some of that personal growth comes before we click join with Plexus. And that kind of gets you that initial takeoff, whatever that might be. I didn't realize that there were things I had been doing that was kind of setting me up to have a good initial takeoff with Plexus. So my first like little sprint to senior gold came from the preparation and the personal growth I had done in the wilderness seasons and in hard times and in using social media to truly connect with people. Like I really liked it. I loved it actually. It was my only social world because I didn't have time to go to a coffee shop or the money for the coffee, right? So that initial preparation was there that did get me to senior gold. But that was the first time I kind of leveled out. And that happened several times. Personal growth will always precede team growth. But if that's true, on the flip side is true. If we start slowing down in our personal growth, inevitably your team will come also to a screeching halt. How do I know? I have done it. I remember reaching Emerald. For me, it was fast. Compared to some of y'all rock stars, I'm like, holy buckets, y'all are fired. But it took me 20 months, I think, to go Emerald, about as fast as we could handle, because right smack in the middle of that is when my son's epilepsy also occurred. So I'm like looking back like crazy town. That was wild, but it felt like a mandate from heaven. We were laser focused going after Emerald. There was maybe 5 days in that almost 2 years that I missed doing a training, listening to some sort of training. It was so ingrained in my daily routine to be hungry for training every single day. It was as normal as brushing my teeth. In fact, I know there was Christmases that I still heard training, and that's not to mean I was away from my family. It's just that I still had to shower. So I might as well listen to a training while I'm showering. And so I remember on Christmas, I still got trained, you know, I was so hungry for it. And when I reached Emerald, hindsight now looking back, I did not see it then. I look back and realize, wow, that was like the peak of ego in Krista. It's embarrassing, but it was real. Like I was like, we totally did it. I've got a car in the driveway to prove it. I'm going to Hawaii, y'all. Like I was like, we did it. I've arrived. I've learned the things. We're good to go. I know how to do this. And then I'll teach people how to do it. And we're going to go diamond. I'm going to be diamond by the time I get to Hawaii next year. Like I just was high as a kite. And it was the first time I had ever even experienced feeling proud of myself. It was like such a weird, crazy feeling. Proud as could be. Slowed down in personal growth. And so guess how long I stayed right there? 2.5 years. The best and worst 2.5 years of my business journey. At the time, it was torture. Looking back, it was the most necessary, refining, shifting season. I had reached a plateau. I reached my leadership lid and my team rose to it, and we stayed there together until I figured some things out. Personal growth will always precede team growth. Be investing in yourself, high times and low times. The third one, fail forward, fail often, fail publicly. There was more than one time that I went after a goal, got the whole team around it, got social media involved, an Instagram countdown. We were ready to go after it. at least once, probably twice before hitting sapphire, at least once, maybe twice before ever reaching diamond. And guess what? In that, I have gotten to where I delight in failing in front of my team as much as I delight in succeeding in front of my team. I'm thinking if they can see me fail out loud and that like I lived through it, I'm still smiling. It didn't shift my identity. I could care less. This is just a part of my journey. It's like, might as well bring everyone into it so we all know this is very normal and it's a part of the process, and y'all get over the fear of failing really quickly in your business, and it'll take you so far. What does failure do? Nothing. You don't fail in this. Like, you either hit your exact goal or you learn crazy things along the way and you figure out right where you're at and then what your gap is to go get to your goal. Like, it's like so fun. And it's so fun bringing your team in the journey. Now, it wasn't always fun. It used to be like paralyzing to think of like, what if I put myself out there and then we totally miss it? But what's the worst case scenario in that? There isn't one. Like, I really don't even care. And so I encourage you, look for more ways that you fail. I tell my team all the time, the only reason I am where I am and you're not here yet is I've just failed more times than you. I've sent more dorky messages with flubbery dubbery mistakes than you could even think of. And I just still hit send because I don't care. I'm not trying for perfection. I'm trying for growth. You know, like, I'm over trying to be perfect. Let's just get the things done and connect with the people and build the relationships and get the information out there. And let's just do the thing, right? I have failed more on social media than you. I have failed more in letting people down. I have failed more on follow-ups. I have failed all over the place. I have gotten off most Zooms in tears thinking I'm failing. I can't even tell you, like, the struggle bus is real, but I just keep going and I keep showing up and I keep doing the things. I've just failed more times than you. Fail forward, fail often, fail publicly, and realize it doesn't hurt you. You just keep going. Like a little baby learning how to walk. They just fall over and they topple over on their bum and they get right back up and they keep going. Do the same thing and be proud of that process. Let your kids see it. Let your team see it. Let it shift them. I want my kids to see my mom, she tried and sometimes she missed it, but other times she nailed it. And it was so fun to watch her grow in the process. That's what I want them to see. Number 4, I want you to stay humble and hungry. Stay humble and hungry in the mountaintop seasons and in the valley seasons. Different purposes. Stay hungry and humble in the mountaintop seasons to sustain that momentum. So kind of like we were talking about before, you've got to stay humble and hungry, even when you're in the peak of momentum, right? That's what's going to keep you in it. When you realize you still don't know everything yet. Like, the minute that we show up to a meeting or to a training or we watch something on YouTube thinking, well, I already know that, like, uh-oh, like, we know we're in trouble. Like, we just have to stay so humble and so hungry to keep learning, even when in the mountaintops and everything's going well. But what about when you're in the valley? All the more so. Because the valley might tempt you to take on victim mentality, the blame game. It's everyone else's fault but yours. You could fall into bitterness and resentment. You could be miserable and even quit. Like, sure, but what's that going to get you? Like, you'll always look back saying, oh man, what if? But if you stay humble and hungry in the valley seasons, you realize that's where the growth comes. That's where the character is developed and the fruit is found in your life. And I think the faster we like harness the power of a valley season in humility and with such hunger to learn and grow, the faster we get out of it onto our next mountaintop. From glory to glory, we are changed, right? For me, that's mountaintop to mountaintop. And yes, there's a valley in between, but can I partner with the valley and get out of it maybe a little bit faster rather than complaining, blaming, being resentful, and just staying there, going around and around like the Israelites did, right? What a powerful testimony. I'd rather learn all I can, delight in that valley season, get right back up to the next mountaintop and discover what's there, but choose humility in that process. And the last one, number 5, know your end goal. That has to be so strong and so plain that you know exactly what your end goal is to help you navigate all the in-betweens, and know that pit stops are inevitable and they're beautiful and they're necessary. This is going to be so cheesy, y'all, and I don't always bring homeschool things to my business Zooms, but here's one of my kids' maps, okay? I live over here in North Carolina. Where do I live? I just went to Virginia. Clearly a newbie here. I live in North Carolina. This is where I live. This is where I grew up, out on the West Coast near San Francisco. My family's still out here. If someone came to me and said, Krista, I have something that you need to get out in California. It's important that you get out there. I don't care which route you take. Go ahead, pack up your kids, whatever, but I need you to get out there. And what you're going to get out there with your family, it's going to change the trajectory of your life for generations to come. But I need you to get out there, right? So we get things ready, we get the car ready, we make sure the oil is changed, the wheels are good. I mean, we've done several road trips, right? There's some steps we take before we pack our family in. And we're going to set out on this journey. Now, Chad's personality would be like, cool, I'm going to get in the car here. And what's the fastest route I can take to get here? Because nothing else matters. No one's going to go to the bathroom, eat your own sandwiches you can make in the back seat. We are getting to California. My personality is like, look, a Starbucks, oh, an outlet mall. Oh my goodness, there's a national park. Like, we could turn this into like a 6-month journey, like we're total opposites when it comes to that. Along the way, no matter what route we're taking, if the check engine light comes on, what should we do? The check engine light's gonna come on. I just took my daughter to Hilton Head. She turned 13. We do these trips for our kids when they turn 13, a one-on-one trip. And the light came on. And I feel the need, like we need to get that checked out like now, because otherwise what happens if I ignore that light? It's going in tomorrow. We're going to get that checked out. But what happens if I ignore that light? Maybe I ignore the check engine light here, and down the way, all of a sudden I'm ignoring the fact that the tires seem a little bit lumpy and another light's coming on. What happens if I'm ignoring the check engine light along the way, not willing to slow down and fix the vehicle? Where am I going to be at? And what is the condition I'm in by the time I reach my final destination? It's still important. It's still going to mark me. It's still going to change our life for generations to come. But what if I reach there broken, burned out, and falling apart? There's a massive shift that occurred in me when I went Emerald, when I realized, whoa, actually, I'm not going for 4,500 points. I'm going after a team with healed hearts and strong marriages and strong families and good time management and good healthy finances and no debt. Like, I realized there was a bigger vision than just the points that I wanted to see on my dashboard, right? But along the way, you can choose some really scenic routes. There's some great things to see, and you can really enjoy the process, but it is so worth it to get to your destination healthy. The fastest way isn't always the healthiest way. Sometimes you might get there and realize, whoa, I've got some things to like shore up on the home front or in my marriage or in my health, and like get sleep at night, right? Like there's things to know along the way. So as you go, there's going to be times that there's friction. I call it chicken foam. Maybe I've shared that with you guys before, maybe not. When you boil chicken and white foamy stuff comes to the top, why? Like, what is that about? And you can either like scrape that off and discard it, or you can stir it back in and hope no one noticed. As you go in this process, that is your check engine light. It'll show up in the tone of your voice. You know what? The other night we had company over. We were sharing a part of our story that was, it was like 20 years ago. I don't even know. And I noticed in the tone of my voice, there is still hurt inside me. That's a check engine light. That means get away for a minute and figure out, whoa, why did my tone change as if I haven't really healed? And that was years ago. I better address that. There might be times that like someone cuts you off on the freeway and you about lose your marbles. That might be an indicator there's some other things going on. Chad will tell us all the time, you can tell the size of the man by the size of what makes him angry. So if you find yourself getting ticked off at really tiny things, especially if that starts leaking into your team and the relationships that you're establishing with your team and your ability to love them so well, no matter where they're at in their journey, right? If it starts like to where you're like, losing patience and you're getting snappy or whatever, that's a check engine light. Go ahead and pull off, enjoy the scenery, get the vehicle fixed, enjoy a night or two at a hotel with your family and soak in the hot tub, right? Like take some time on that trip. You will get to your destination, but you better know where you're going to get you through those hard times where you're getting through the desert, you're going through the mountains. To get you across all the way to that destination, you have to know where you're going. I remember a moment where things felt hard, rubber meets the road. Judah was having these seizures. I was still trying to figure out, it was my first time to get like stuck at a rank. And I was trying to figure out, like, am I even supposed to be doing this? And I've never worked. And how do I do this? And I've got all these kids. I had a newborn baby. I had barely been a sane human being. And this business was taking off. And I had to really get it established in my heart. And it was in that I realized this is in me and you can't cut it out of me. And as I was needing to ask Chad, like, would you be willing to help me? Like, could I work an hour a day or 2 hours a day? And he's looking at me like, that's the craziest thing ever that he would help me. Like, now it's so funny because like tonight he made baked ziti and it was phenomenal. But back then he could make like scrambled eggs and order pizza, you know? So he's looking at me like, what? You want me to help you? So he set up a card table in our garage in Florida. This is the first time I ever had work hours. And he began to help me. But I remember in that moment, tears in my eyes, saying, Chad, I think I can do this. And he had never heard me say that about anything in all of our marriage. But I still remember his face as he was like, whoa, like he could tell that came from a deeper place than just some high emotions. Really, this was a valley season. There was something in me that said, I can do this. I don't know how, and I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I do know I can get there. In fact, I feel like it's a mandate. And for some of you, the same is true. Shore up what your vision is, write it plain upon tablets and make sure you can see it. There were times that we had it laminated on our bathroom mirror. We had it laminated in our shower so we could be reading it to ourselves, the vision, not just over our business, but over our family, over our finances, our future, generations to come. What is our character? I mean, just beyond just like, we're going diamond. Woo, like it went so much further, and it was on the mirror. It was on the shower. It was on the refrigerator. We made it plain to know this is what we're going after. Come, what's the saying? Higher, something water. I don't even know what the saying is. So why is that trying to come out right now? But no matter what happens, we're going after it. But the vision was clear. You've got to be built on a strong foundation, not built on sand. The minute hard times come, you'll be revealed really quickly what you're built on. So shore up that vision, type it up. What is your life going to be like? What will this mean for you? Get it to the point that you're bawling your brains out, so that you know exactly where you're going, no matter how long a pit stop might be, how high of a trek it might be, up through some mountains, down through some deserts. You're going to get there, but get there healthy. Get there strong, get there in a way that you want to duplicate it. Whatever you want to duplicate in your jewels, be that now, so that as your team grows, you are so firmly established with healthy humans, healthy families, healthy trajectory. And it's exactly what I already see you guys doing, what y'all are doing, and the way you're establishing community and you're developing yourselves and the book studies. I mean, literally, I'm like preaching to the choir right now. But anyways, that is what I had in my notes for y'all.
I love it. I was like crazy taking notes. Anybody else? I see Steph over there. She's got her iPad. Karen's like old school pen and paper. Kimberly too. I love that you brought up chicken foam. Kenny's like, what is chicken foam? I'm like, listen, don't you know what chicken foam is? And you can't even do anything with it.
You must hide it all the time.
I do. I hide it. So you don't like, can't even scrape it off and make gravy. Like there's like, I don't know what it is, but it's got good, right? So I love that. But I think that so much of your story and just sharing like the 5 things, that is such a good recap of those things to really stay focused on. Because I think all too often we can get distracted, and that causes like confusion and chaos and then disruption. And then you lose sight of where you were headed in the first place. Mm-hmm. Right. And it can be so easy to do that. And it can start with, one negative comment. It can be one friend that is like, just doesn't understand, doesn't know, doesn't have, and they don't have your vision. Right. Yeah. So one of the best things that I ever heard, and I loved it, and I can't tell you who it was now, but it was like, I think it was my friend Amy, and she was doing a sermon at a women's ministry event, and she was talking about vision, that God gives you these visions, the desires, dreams of your heart, all the things. You're going to have people that don't understand. They don't get it. And this was the thing. She's like, it's okay. It's not their vision. It's not for them. It's for you. So you will have people that maybe don't get it. They just don't know what they don't know, right? And they might not, they say no in the beginning and they don't know, but then you're consistently showing up, and years from now they come back around, right, Krista? Totally. Like, how many times does that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, in your 8 years of what you've been able to accomplish and achieve. And so you guys, Krista is on our leadership training team at corporate. She is one of the finest trainers that we have. And I love how you share from the heart always. Always, always. And I love how you tackle, it's not about points, it's about people. Mm-hmm. When we lose sight of the people, then the points will fall apart. Right? Kimberly, did you have anything favorite? And then Karen, I'm going to ask you too. I know that we were talking earlier.
Yes. Can you hear me? My favorite was actually when she said, know your end goal. Pit stops are inevitable and necessary, but get to your destination healthy, right? Like we are to get to our destination healthy, not like, where we're going through these seasons and we're so like Krista said, uptight or sad or all these things. We know that our destination, we're going to get there at some point. But when our check engine light comes on and we need to check ourselves, make sure that we are getting ourselves there healthy. I loved that, Krista.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen's unmuting. There she is.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Krista, I'm going to say this without crying, or at least try to, I adore you. Every single thing that you shared tonight, I think every single one of us on this call can recognize one of the areas that we have either been in or will be going through. So much. Thank you so much for pouring into us tonight. But if I have to choose one, it would be the first one. Your time is really valuable. So use it wisely. I think especially those of us that are either doing this part-time or full-time or whatever that looks like, we can get very busy doing a lot of unnecessary things. So to be focused and to make, or that extra fluffy stuff that you were talking about tonight, that cleaning the desk and doing all of the things, that's just going to have to wait, So really just prioritizing our time blocking. Every single point, but that would be, the first one is the one that I would say is super, super important. Again, thank you for pouring into us. We love you.
You're so sweet.
Fabulous. And Maria, she's joining us. She's in the middle of traveling right now. So Maria, I would love, because you have a team too that is in mass momentum right now, and it is just boiling over and everybody's feeling that surge of momentum. So I would love to hear one of your takeaways from tonight.
Well, first I'm going to have to just tell Krista how much I love her too. I could just listen to you all day. So thank you for being on with our team tonight. Thank you for sharing. We're just, so proud of you and, so happy to have you with us here tonight. But it's so funny because as I'm listening to Kim, I'm thinking, I already have my favorite in my head. I'm thinking, I hope they don't take mine because then I'm going to have to figure something else out. But my favorite part was get over the fear of failing. Get over it, right? Fail often, right? I mean, fail in your social media, fail everywhere, but just do it. Just do the thing, right? So that by far was my favorite because, and I think, at our book club this week, we talked, with Kenny, I talked about the same thing with everybody. It's like, who cares? Who cares, right? Get out there, do the thing, and don't worry about if you make a fool of yourself, if you fail or whatever. You're never failing, you're learning. There's so much that you will learn from all of those experiences. So that was my favorite part. But again, thank you so much for sharing. I took all the notes on all the things, and but that would be mine.
Love it. Well, I'm going to throw this to Kenny. And he was madly taking notes, Krista.
No,
You know how much he loves you guys.
yes, thank you for coming aboard and just sharing your wisdom. And a lot of the stuff we relate to. I know you and Jenna talked for hours in Hawaii. I just sat there and listened. But one thing my favorite was your level number 2, level up and level out and your personal growth. But I have a question. So you said you kind of stalled when you hit Emerald. How long did it take you to figure that out? And what did you do as personal growth wise?
It took me like a year at least to figure out like I was the problem. That first year I was just riding on a high and excited, just trying to work hard, try all the things. Now I was added to the Jewel page. Now there's like 1 million plus ideas of like cool things to give the team. I'm like just pulling each and everything from everywhere, just throwing it at people because now I have access to it. So that's cool. Like just whatever. And I was like frustrated. And I went to Jewel training frustrated and just like, come on, like we just got to work harder. Like whatever, we got to get out of this. We were just staying there right at Emerald. Went to Hawaii, met Addie King, and I remember her encouraging me like that. I was stuck at Emerald longer than any other rank. And I'm like, and internally I'm like, shush, like, I'm not going to be that person, this did not want to even like hear advice about it. I just was like wanting to strive and fix it and move on, and so it took at least that year because I went Emerald in October. Hawaii would have been that following September. And I hated going to Hawaii still at Emerald because in my head, I was like, I'm going there diamond, but there were key moments on that Hawaii trip that began a shift in what I was going to go after, getting a larger vision than just 4,500 points. I mean, our team name changed, our vision statement for the team, like everything really that was needed to shore up the foundation for Sapphire, Diamond, re-entry, whatever, it was established in that time. And because of that, this is just the mercy of God. But when we went Diamond and re-entry and even Sapphire, I wasn't even having to ask for an order. Now to go Emerald, we were going bonkers, working night and day, line by lining it, like, which is probably all the more where we were like, we did it, like, this is awesome because we hustled hard to get there. Sapphire and Diamond was these swells like in the ocean that really just had us on our knees weeping because it was just so consuming. And it has just stayed strong and healthy through storms, through highs and lows. Team Revive has stayed, and it stayed consistent and has continued to grow and hasn't, I don't know, it's literally the grace of God, and it's things that were like stuck into our tool belt in that 2.5 year period, and some of that personal growth was in grabbing books and the podcasts and the trainings, and some of it was just allowing my heart to be laid bare and really confront some things, some like massive check engine lights that I had been ignoring in the momentum because things were working, we were growing, it was exciting. And you get all these praise and accolades and like your identity all of a sudden is wrapped up in a rank. I mean, there was like a lot I had to unpack in a 2.5 year period of like, who am I really? And where does my identity lie? And so some of it was a self-awareness journey and a heart healing journey. Some of it was personal development and books. I mean, it was like a nitty gritty 2.5 years. And yet I wouldn't trade it for the world. If I had to redo this journey, I would make sure that 2.5 year period was put in there. It was so crucial,
Amen.
I love it. Anybody else can relate to that? Like what she's sharing? And in those seasons and those valleys, those highs and the lows, it's so much fun. Like we were talking about this week at Ruby's on the Rise, is that in those highs and those lows, it's that the emotional, remember Rosalind Payne joined us last week, Krista. So she was talking about emotional intelligence, and that is like, you're steady. Like you're good, you're steady. So if something hits the fan, which it always is going to, you're not losing your stuff. Like that, because whatever you do is going to be contagious. It's going to spread out onto other people, right? So then like, if you're anxious, if you're worried, this, and then you start going negative, then guess what? That's boil over into so many other people. And before you know it, then you're going to have a ton of these people that are running all over the place, just completely overwhelmed. And then when people are overwhelmed, what do?
Shut down.
They shut down. They shut down. So for us to learn, us meaning all of us, in those highs and those lows, and you're just that personal growth. You're still doing it even when it's all working. Because when it's not all going like as smooth as you want, because there's gonna be ebbs and flows in the business. That's the name of the game. It's a business. This is your business. The beautiful part is you get to pick who you work with. You get to pick your hours. You have the flexibility and the freedom to determine where you want to work, who you want to work with, what does it look like? And then in that whole process, you're just learning how to navigate it all. And like Maria said, you know, sometimes you're going to fail forward. Krista said, you're going to fail. It's okay. The longer that I'm in this, and I think Krista, you would agree too, and the realization is like, I can't fail at this. Like if I don't quit and I don't give up, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to learn. Everything is an opportunity to learn something new. Now the question is, are you willing to learn? Or will you just take the easy out? And when we take those easy outs, what ends up happening is we go back on that crazy cycle again. Right? And we do that with our marriages. We do that with our families. We can do that with our kids. And when you start to have that emotional intelligence, you start to like, you know, you're checking your own engine light. You're checking yourself. You're like, okay, what in this is about me? Is there something I can learn? Is there something I need to own? Is there something I need to work out? When you do that, it's amazing how it really starts to change your own leadership development, your own personal growth. We talk about this a lot, that whether you are leading a team of one or leading a team of thousands, you are a leader. You have influence. John Maxwell says leadership is nothing more or less than influence. And he says everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything in your households, in your businesses, when Sean goes to work, when Karen Ray's dropping kids off, when Kimberly's going to soccer, when she's on the calls, when Steph is running babies around, when Maria's out doing all the things, right? Everything rises and falls on that leadership, but it's you owning that and being okay with that. But being okay with not knowing all the things too. Because sometimes you know where you're going, you have a roadmap, you have a vision, you're like, I'm gonna go here, and you're gonna think it's gonna look one way, and I'm gonna tell you what, God's gonna come along and go, wait, there's a rest stop right here. Here's a viewpoint, there's a scenic tour. I need you to stop here, I need you to see this, I need you to go there. But it is all beautiful. Don't discount the journey getting to where you're at. So Krista, in your 8 years that you have been just absolutely growing and developing and now leading an incredible team. So did you guys catch that she said re-entry? So I want you to understand what that means, because in Plexus, you can reach the top of the company one time as a diamond, but not just once. They allow us to do it twice on our own personal accounts. So what Krista and her amazing team did is they hit diamond and then went back in and started to do it again. And then her husband is building his side as well. So you're a diamond, Ruby?
Diamond senior gold.
Diamond senior gold with a senior Ruby husband. Huge congratulations.
Amen.
Guys.
And for those that joined a little bit late and missed Krista's, background a little bit, I mean, she's got 8 kids, 4 boys and 4 girls. Just wanted to put it out there. If you think you're too busy to run your business, she homeschools her kids, okay? 8 of them. Well, not all 8 of them still in school, but she's got 8 kids, people.
It is true. Managing your time probably has been huge for you, is learning how to navigate what that looks like. But what would be your thing, your one thing, if you were going to say like the highest, like if I could do, like tell you anything, it would be.
Oh my goodness. Like, shoot, I just put down 5. Now I got to come up with another one. Now I'm like totally sweating and I think I almost forgot my own name. Okay, if I was to give one piece of advice that I haven't been blabbing about, oh my Lanta.
Well, while she thinks about that, Krista, I'm going to help you out a little bit. The only one that we kind of didn't recap, and for anyone that missed it, was stay humble and stay hungry, right? I think everybody kind of touched on one of her 5. So I think that was another one that was awesome. Even when, you're in the valley or in the mountains, right? Stay humble, stay hungry, right? And so that was, and I just want to help you out there, sister girl.
You're fantastic. I literally, like, people can come up to like shake my hand and they'll say like, how are you? And I'll say like, thank you. Like, that is how nervous I get. And it's like, if I'm put on the spot, all the more I'm like, what's my name again? So anyways, but the first thing came to mind once I just like closed my eyes for a hot second. I was like, okay, what are you saying? Literally, I feel like I don't know how to speak unless the Lord's with me. And then like, when it's gone, it's gone. I'm like, whoop, I'm out of words. That's all, folks. Like, bye, y'all. But here's what came to mind first. I just need you to know it's worth it. That's like not a fancy tip. But I do wish you could have seen the amount of times that I felt like quitting, or the amount of times that it felt too hard, or the amount of tears that I've shed thinking maybe I have let somebody down, or I failed somebody, or a critic hurt my heart, you know, and like, I need you to know, like, yes, there's been times where it has just stunk, you know, it has just been nitty gritty figuring it out, because I didn't have everything figured out in this. Like, I didn't go to school for this, right? I didn't do an internship for a year and then launch into it. You're just kind of figuring this out as you go, right? So give yourself some grace, but I need you to know on the other end of it, it's worth it. It's so worth it. And usually it'll be worth it for reasons that surprise you. I got a Lexus and went Emerald because y'all, we needed a car. I didn't need a Lexus. I just needed a car because I had to use the emergency brake at the stoplights because my car tried to keep driving while my foot was on the brakes. Handles had already broken off. Smoke came out the engine, and the repair guy was like, this is not fit to drive, let alone safe for you to drive your children in. Well, there was no other option. We didn't qualify for credit. We didn't have a credit card. There was no other way but going Emerald. Like, it was back against the wall. We've prayed for breakthrough for 10 years. By golly, we ain't gonna miss it and say, well, it's too hard, I can't do it, it's stretching me. And you know what I mean? Like, I was praying for an answer. I don't get to choose how the answer comes, but I can say it is worth it to walk it out in obedience and find out who you're becoming amidst it all. These friendships that you end up making that weren't even on your radar 5 years ago. Now you're like, oh my goodness, I know these amazing people. I feel like I've known them my whole life, right? Like, what you see in like your children that are watching your example for years. On Mother's Day during honor time, my kids would go around, they're like, well, I love my mom and she's a good cook and she cleans well. And that's fantastic. I love cooking for my family. I hate cleaning. I do like hiring a house cleaner. I just hired a new one today. Praise the Lord, because my time is valuable and I'm not wasting it. And so my house is currently a mess. But I remember going Emerald and traveling with the kids, and some churches had asked me to speak, and I can only say yes to that because I had learned how to overcome fears. My kids were sitting in the audience. They had never seen mom do anything. They came to Lear's Retreat. They saw mommy on stage. And I remember that first Mother's Day, sitting around the table doing honor time, and my kids had things to say. Now, could I have been totally fine entering my deathbed one day, hearing, thanks for cooking, mom, and thanks for cleaning? You bet. I was content and happy, and really would have chosen, if it was my way, to only be a homemaker for as long as I live. I didn't think I had skill sets to do much more than that. I figured when my kids were grown, I had two options. I could offer to hold babies in the hospital or like volunteer at a library. Those are my two ideas. And I didn't think I had enough worth to even be paid to do those things. So it caught me off guard to hear my kids have more to say than cooking and cleaning. But there's like these gifts and these treasured moments, these like marking moments in the process that you're like, whoa, like I wasn't looking for this. This is so unusual and it's so wild, but it's so worth it. And really, I don't think we'll fully understand the magnitude of our obedience until we reach heaven. I think we're going to be all the more surprised of like, whoa, the ripple effect was bigger than we even saw. So it's worth it. The true success is simple obedience, even in the mundane. Even when there's not accolades, you might feel unseen at times. And actually, those are like such beautiful, precious times. So savor every part of your journey.
I want to add that you are worth it, right? It's learning that not only is it worth it, but you are worth it too.
Yeah.
All the things that God wants to lavish on you, that he wants to bless you with, that he wants to grow you through, that he wants to do in you and through you and your children. And so as you're starting to grow and you're developing yourself, because that's one of the really cool parts about what Plexus has to offer. Sometimes people think they just come in for products, and they might. And then some come in for the opportunity because they just need a little extra, and that's great. But you know, when we say that Plexus is like a personal growth development plan, it's like, it truly is. It's, you can't be the same person in a year from now, and 4 years from now, and 8 years from now. And that's exciting. It's not something to be fearful about, because you're just kind of like an onion peel. You're just revealing one layer after another, and it just gets sweeter and sweeter. And then the really fun stuff starts to happen, is that law of attraction that you can't get away from. Because then all of a sudden you start attracting really incredible, amazing people. And before you know it, you're doing life together, and you're doing the things together, and you're growing and you're learning, and you truly are changing the world around you. So I'm going to leave you, close this out with an update on Change Your World. Give us that.
Tuesday, we have our book club. Is that what we're calling it? I don't even know. Book club Tuesday night, and Change Your World by John Maxwell. But I wanted to say, Krista, thank you. And as you were talking, a word popped up in my head, and it was Ezekiel. And I really think this is you. To Ezekiel 37, I'm paraphrasing, but the Lord takes Ezekiel by the Spirit and comes up and he shows him a valley. And it's funny that you were talking about these valleys. And he's looking at the valleys back and forth, and he sees nothing but dry bones. And the Lord tells him, are they alive? Of course they're not. They're bones. He tells Ezekiel, prophesy to it. So now he's telling the bones to come alive. And they start growing skin, and they start becoming people, and that's the army. And I truly believe, girl, you are doing that. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your spirit. I can see it on you. When you talk to people, you are actually bringing them back to life. From dry bones, you're telling them to wake. So don't stop doing it. Keep pressing forward. I am so glad you learned that 2.5-year experience, whatever it was, that valley was probably the best thing that ever happened for you and for Chad, for your family and your business. And I'm so glad that you went through it, because now you're the person that you are now, and you get to pour into us. And she's telling you guys and us, dry bones awake, come alive. And that is believing in yourself. She just prophesied over every single one of us. I don't even know if she knew she was doing it. I'm pretty sure she does, but it's amazing. Those 5 little tips were prophesying over you and your business and your family. And we, from our team to our family, we thank you. God bless you.
Amen. All right. You pray us out.
All right,
Krista.
All right, Lord, we just thank you, Father, for this day. And we're going to do what we always do, Lord God. The prayer of Jabez, Lord, that you would bless everybody on this call, bless Krista and her family. Indeed, that you enlarge their territory and everybody on this call, that your hand would be with us and all around us, and that you would keep us from evil, Lord. Not that we have to go through it, Lord. You just literally, in this season, just wipe it away. Like Jesus walking through the crowd. And that we would cause no pain. That we would bring hope and happiness, and that we would bring dead bones to life. We thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you,
Krista, so much. All right. We love you. We will see you guys Tuesday book club, Saturday morning. Don't forget, we have the walk for breast cancer awareness and tradition. It's on our team support page, so you want to check that out as well. All right. That's it. All right. Thank you, friend. I love you.
Love you guys. Sleep tight.
Thank you.